Hello and welcome. This is the astrology and energetic forecast for October 8th through October 15th. But most specifically, because we are in such a sacred time with the eclipse that is happening on October 14th, I'm actually going to dedicate this video specifically to just really presencing and kind of shining a magnifying glass or a light on the eclipse specifically, and how we can kind of like work with and integrate this energy, because my goodness, this is a big one for all of us. Eclipse season it's an intense moment. We get it 2 times every year, about every 6 months, right around fall equinox and spring equinox, depending on where you are in which hemisphere, north or south. Wow. I've already been feeling so much build up to this as we've kind of been like navigating this previous week and into this one. I don't know about you. Have you been feeling the same? Eclipses can be extremely intense on the nervous system. The veil is really thin. And we are in the territory of more quantum energies. With eclipses, these can be moments where there are big revelations that happen, really bright insights, where some illumination occurs with maybe some stories or themes that have been just stuck or trapped, maybe in our unconscious or our subconscious. And so, especially with this eclipse that's happening on October 14th, because the moon and the sun will actually be merging with the south node, which is our past, and it's bringing up just like all of these old stories, all of these old ways of relating, because the south node and the moon and the sun will all be having this moment with the eclipse in the sign of Libra. So I will presence this a little bit more, but for now, just like, let yourself just feel this for a moment. I think we can put a lot of pressure on ourselves, especially when we hit like portals like this. And if you like to follow astrology and you like to kind of sync with the cycles and the planets, it's easy to kind of want to perfect like the way that you navigate this. And I really want to offer us all this kind of like this spaciousness around this time. A spaciousness that's infused with grace. And grace for yourself in your day-to-day as you walk these 2 weeks. Because the first one will happen on October 14th at 10:55 a.m. PST. The second one will happen on October 28th at 1:24 p.m. PST. The first eclipse will be happening in the sign of Libra. And because our nodes in the current sky, the south node is in Libra, the north node is in Aries, we have started this new cycle with the nodes moving into these signs just in July of 2023. And they will be here for 18 months. So we have time. And really, so much of what's happening with this eclipse specifically is it's going to give us a lot of information of how we can continue to move with this cycle, with what the nodes are actually bringing up. So I say that, one, to just really allow yourself spaciousness, take the pressure off to do this right. And I just encourage you to just like breathe and be present. Like, what is it that's coming up? Almost like taking a little bit of a step back, leaning back into your seat, a little bit more neutral energy, and just notice, and kind of a soft slowness. And I encourage that because the energy will be activating. It will be intense. So if we're coming from a place of just like a slow, soft, it's going to be easier to not just fall into some of the shadow of both of these signs and get kind of aggressive and overreact and maybe react quickly out of an emotional just like explosion. So really taking that moment, you can probably even see it in my body, to just kind of settle back into your seat You can even do it now with me if you want to and feel that in your body. It's so good. So much of South Node in Libra energy that will be merging with this eclipse is going to bring up this question of like, where have I been like swallowing my truth? Where have I been like keeping my authentic self hidden and inside because of maybe a myriad of reasons, right? Mostly just because we are afraid for XYZ. We all have our reasons why it's easier to do that. But then what can happen is we're moving from in the world from this place where it's not centered. It's not that authentic, true, soulful self. In fact, we might not even be totally clear on who that is inside of us. And so this South Node in Libra can really bring up moments, especially with people, because Libra rules relationships and how we feel balanced inside of ourselves in the face of another. And Libra's wisdom is to be able to really feel like, this is me, this is my opinion, this is you, this is your opinion. I don't need to get emotionally worked up, try to change your mind, or even try to like get into this dualistic, you're right, I'm wrong. Libra has this really beautiful peacemaking ability that when it's in like coming from its own health and its wholeness, it's such a medicine because it knows how to deeply listen. But when it's coming from some of the more shadow sides because it needs to people please, maybe that's the way that you have like gotten your needs met through your life. And then so many of these patterns are written from our childhood, right? And beyond. So that's why I say spaciousness and grace, like, and you're not the only one with stuff coming up. Like, this is the entire collective that is in this energy. But I will also just say here, because it's coming to mind, like, when we work with the nodes of the moon, we are working with like what our entire collective is also like integrating in their own evolutionary journey. So we're all working with this South Node Libra, bringing up these old ways of being in relationship. And we're all getting invited to lean into the North Node of Aries, which is pulling us into this, and I've presented this a bit in other videos. It's this warrior energy. But it's not a warrior like a wounded Aries would maybe want to manipulate, control, dominate, kind of more of a toxic masculine energy. Aries in its wisdom, it's the spark from which everything came from. Like there is a serious like flame that rises from deep, deep down from the instinctual, cellular, primal body. And so for many of us who have maybe fallen into a lot of the Libra people-pleasing, feeling like you're just constantly being like manipulated or manipulating because you're trying to people-please your way through your life and make sure everybody else is okay. It's like its own form of manipulation, right? And no shame on this. We're all in our different processes of where we are at this journey. Like, it's actually quite beautiful. We're being set up so that we can really feel into like our wholeness, who we really are. Wow. So with the North Node in Aries then, it's almost like we take this sacred activist role for self, for our truth. I had a friend say to me this week, like, I have spent so much of my life being an activist for all of these other causes, all of these other people. And then even in that like sacred activism, which can be so beautiful, there's like a loss of self that happens in that too. So this is really like, this North Node in Aries is getting us into this just like, can I feel who I really am? Can I find my authentic truth? And then from that place of finding it, can I practice spending more time in that, being with that, letting my ear actually listen to that part of me? And then from there, the next step is just starting to kind of bring that up and out into the light, right? So just an honest check-in with yourself of like, where do I fall on this pendulum? And what is the universe, source, like my deepest self? Like what is being asked of me in participation right now? Be a great question. Another thing I always like to presence with the eclipses is because we're working with the nodes with an eclipse, purging, releasing some of the past, and leaning into, with, oh my gosh, so much courage, this new story or this new way. It's also really helpful to know, where are your personal nodes? When you took your first breath and you became a being on planet Earth, where were the nodes in the sky? And if you don't know the answer to that, or you would like to deep dive and dig at that a little bit, one of my favorite things to do in readings is presence people's south node and their north node, because these are like, they're their own guiding lights. The south node's gonna be like where things have been familiar, easy, more natural, to like almost like comfort zone territory. And the north node's where it's like pulling us out of our comfort zones to just be who we really are on our soul's evolutionary journey. I opened up a few more appointments in October in the Eclipse portal, and then a few more into November as well, just because I really am feeling like a lot of us could really like use this as a medicine to lean into. So if that calls to you at all, you can find the link to my website below, and yeah, book a reading with me and let's deep dive, like let's look at it. But for yourself too, really deeply encourage you, figure out where your personal nodes are too, because it's just going to add more layers to this beautiful story of your journey. Wow. Okay, so then let's get a little more specific into like these eclipses. So this eclipse that's happening on October 14th, that will happen at 10:55 a.m. PST, is going to be the sun merging with the moon, merging with the south node in the sign of Libra. This is the first eclipse in these signs that we will continue to work with this same axis in the eclipses that are happening in the spring, and then the eclipses that are happening again in a year next fall. So again, time, spaciousness. There's no pressure to perfect this time. You're just going to get a lot of really, really insightful information that you can then carry with you as we continue to move through this nodal moment, this nodal cycle. What's super fascinating to me is the eclipse that's happening on October 28th is going to be the final eclipse on the Scorpio-Taurus axis, and this will be an eclipse happening in Taurus. So feel this with me for a second. Jill, what is her name? Jill, I can't remember what her last name is, from Spirit Daughter. She wrote beautiful reflection on this eclipse, and she said that this one that's happening on the 14th in Libra is almost like a bridge into this new story. And this eclipse that's happening on October 28th, it's the last one in Taurus Scorpio. So there's a closure, there's a completion that's happening. So can you feel in the kind of intermix between these two, we are opening into a new energy and we're closing. So this is the bridge territory. And so much of what we learned when the nodes were in Scorpio and Taurus was we were learning how to really allow our spirits, our souls, to actually descend and take root into these beautiful temples, these human bodies. We chose to come to Earth. We chose to have the human experience and to be here now. We aren't victims to this. There's a reason you are here. There's a reason you're learning how to be more embodied. So much of what the Taurus and Scorpio axis brought up for us was this energy of just like, Taurus knows how to take its time. It knows the medicine of the sacred pause so that it can really feel like it can actually drop into its body. So as we are in this completion of this energy, take the medicine, take the lessons that you learned from the past year and a half when the nodes were on that axis, and use that embodiment. Use the new sensations that you feel in your body. Use the new like experiences that have really showed you how to access that felt sense within you as we now navigate the territory of self and other, Aries and Libra. Okay. So now a little bit more specifically, I love, and if you've watched my videos or ever gotten a reading with me, like you'll hear me say this so often, I love working with polarities, because especially when we're stuck on one end of the pendulum, it's like watching a pot of boiling water. It's not going to help to just keep staring at it, focusing on it, and almost just like running the hamster mind, the like wheel over and over and over again. Like, give it some air, give it some space. So what do when we're stuck on one end? Woo! Lean into that other side, lean into the other end to bring some balance. So I want a presence for us as all of this energy is getting released from all of the Libra on one end. I really want to presence this other side, because we've got the North Node in Aries, and the North Node is merging with a planet that has become such an ally of mine. She is a powerhouse. Her name is Eris. She was discovered in 2005. She's the planet beyond Pluto. So she is way, 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 way out there in the orbit. And she takes a long time to make her way around. So she is actually in the sign of Aries as we speak, merging with the North Node under the light of this eclipse. They will both be at 24 degrees of Aries. Okay. So let's just like presence Eris for a second, because it feels really important to me that she would be the one that's holding down this energy with the North Node on the other side. Eris is the dark goddess of discord and chaos. And when you hear that at first, it's like, whoa, baby, that sounds a little freaky. Honestly, Eris and so many of the dark goddesses, they get a bad rep, because when the patriarchy came in and kind of took over, their myths and their stories got an overlay and a wash on them that's not even necessarily the truth. But more on that. So with Eris specifically, goddess of discord and chaos, what she really is, and why they call her that, is because she's the goddess of truth. She exposes what has been hidden in the shadows, maybe been kept secret or stuffed down. So can you feel when that gets brought up, there is discord and chaos sometimes. So in her myth, there was a wedding happening with all the gods and goddesses, and Eris didn't get invited because they didn't want her discord and chaos at the wedding. Well, she showed up anyway, and she came with a gift. It was a golden apple, and inscribed on the apple, it said, "To the fairest." And when she got there, she threw the apple out in front of Hera, Athena, and Aphrodite. And they began to fight over who was the fairest. Now you can go and dig at this myth and read it for yourself. There are a couple of different versions of it, but really what stands out to me is then each of the goddesses are trying to convince this other guy, this human mortal, that they are the fairest, like, choose me. So Hera offers him money and wealth. Athena offers him wisdom and power. Aphrodite flashes him her beautiful breast and offers him sex and love and all of the sexual pleasure on the earth. And he chooses that one. If you dig a little deeper, you realize Aphrodite knew this was going to happen the whole entire time, and it was kind of like her scheme to begin with, and she ended up getting chosen. So there's this undercurrent under it all of like, there is manipulation, there is secrets, there is power dynamics and control, but it's all stuffed under here, and we're going to blame Eris for it. I love Eris because she is at peace with being misunderstood. And though I'm sure it caused emotional ripples through her body often, when I tune into Eris, there is this energy of like, it's okay. You can misunderstand me. I know who I am. I know I'm actually a truth teller, a truth seeker. I know that I am whole unto myself, that I don't need anybody outside of me to tell me any certain thing about me and how I should be and what I should be doing. No. All of that comes from inside of me. And I move through the world with that as my center. How many of us are actually doing that? I have this feeling that when we really do that, there isn't even necessarily a need to fight. I mean, all of these goddesses, Hera, Athena, Aphrodite, they're fighting, being kind of catty and petty. And so I'm like, do your thing, people. I'm not trying to put like a shame or judgment on that. Like, I also don't want that to be my day-to-day existence. And while they're doing that, Eris is just sitting back, watching, quiet, observing. Wow, I'm really feeling her presence right now. So under the light then of this eclipse that's happening on the 14th, where do you fall on this pendulum of Aries and Libra? Have you been swallowing your truth to keep the peace in certain situations, in certain relationships? I'd also just encourage you to like take stock, kind of do a scan of your relationships. How have things been feeling to you? Have they been feeling good to you? Like you, not other people. How do you feel about them? What do you want out of some of your relationships? Do you feel like you've been giving, and feeling like you're not getting a whole lot back in return? Or the opposite? Do you feel like you've kind of just been almost like in a stuck stagnation and there's something that you need to like lean into here and kind of like let happen? And not necessarily like specifically giving something, but like giving yourself to the experience with like an openness. These are things I would really contemplate under the light of this eclipse. And as we get closer to the one that's happening in Taurus on the 28th, I'll present that one a bit more specifically too. But again, like keep bringing it back into your body, into your experience, into your sensation. And let that guide you. Because we know what it feels like when we're like a yes. And there's this openness, this juiciness, this just like, yes, I want this. And we know the opposite. When it's like, even if I think I should want it and I don't, it's like I'm closed. There's a holding back. because it's a no. So follow it. I'm just gonna feel here if there's anything else that wants to drop in. Okay. I think I'll leave you with one more piece. As the situations arise, and they will, most likely they will arise with people outside of you. And I don't know about you, but a lot of times, I'm a precious Libra rising here. When there is conflict, when there is tension, my body will sometimes freeze and get activated, and I'll want to pop out of my body because I'm trying to stay safe and I'm scared to feel what's really going on. I don't like to feel the conflict. Can you relate to this? You know, conflict is a medicine too, I am learning. And even who I was years ago on this topic of conflict has changed incredibly. And I would say now I almost like it at times because there is so much movement and so much more of me that I can feel when I just like let myself do it and really stay with myself in it. So on this, I want to give you a little like somatic practice when you're in the moment, or maybe when you're approaching a moment where you know you're going to have a hard conversation, or you're in a situation where there is conflict. I would encourage you to play with this. I call them my little foot magnets. And it is a way for me to really feel, so maybe do it with me right now if you want to. Just become aware of where your feet are. Maybe they're on the floor. Right now I'm sitting crisscrossed, so I'm feeling my feet. And then using your breath, just your natural rhythm of your breath, just soften for a moment. And just become aware of the soles of your feet. And now I'm going to invite you, just keep breathing. Almost pretend like there are magnets that have appeared on the soles of your feet. And these magnets are magical magnets. They magnetize you to the earth, and they magnetize earth to you. And you know that feeling when you let the earth energy come into your body? You may start to feel it right now, actually. It's a slow, gentle, very nourishing, very relaxing, maybe even a little warm. Okay. Can you feel how that grounds you? And it brings that slow softness, that grace to you almost instantaneously. I would encourage us, when we're moving into some of these moments of conflict, use the foot magnets. I did this in a situation here in the last 2 weeks, and it was like astonishing to me that I didn't even, like, my body wasn't even shaking. It didn't even get activated because I was so grounded in the moment that the conflict was happening to my face. So it's real. And let me tell you, if I can do it, anybody can do it, because with my Libra rising and my Pisces moon, it is so much easier for me to be floating like right here outside my body. But this is why we're here on earth. We're learning how to bring spirit into matter. We're learning how to really descend and love these human bodies, this human experience, for such a time as this. So I bless you under the light of this eclipse. May it be illuminating and revealing. in the moments when your nervous system feels wigged out and you're just wanting to like short circuit and jump out, may you feel Earth magnetizing you, holding you, reminding you of who you really are. And then from that grounded, balanced, equilibrium space, may we just begin to play and practice, allowing a little bit of that light, that truth, to then come out and shine it. So many, many blessings. If this was activating for you, if you desire to even dive deeper, like I said, please feel free to book a reading with me. I would love to hold space for you and around you on this journey. Much, much love. Many, many blessings. Mwah. And I'll talk to you soon.